In 2011, fluorescent lights flicker above an Orlando courtroom. 5 friends from Ocala shuffle legal folders thicker than any tour rider, each stamped "A Day to Remember" versus Victory Records. They want out, but Victory won't let them go. The band claims significant unpaid digital royalties. The label counters with breach of contract claims. 3 court calendars and countless filings later, a 4 October 2013 ruling let the band release music on their own while the case crawled on. At 12:01 a.m. on 8 October 2013, they uploaded common courtesy to their website. Fans hit buy so fast the server crashed. The message was clear. A loyal audience could smash a paywall louder than any label clause. The paperwork war finally ended in November 2016 when a judge signed the settlement that freed ADTR from their contract for good. They walked out owing nothing, owning everything, and with proof that an independent upload could outgun a courtroom. So how did a band caught between 2 genres and a lawsuit that spawned a fierce countersuit still manage to build an empire? Spring 2003 settled over Ocala, Florida, as singer Jeremy McKinnon, guitarist Neil Westfall and Tom Denny, bassist Joshua Woodard, and drummer Bobby Scruggs jammed inside a tin storage shed that smelled like gasoline and rain-soaked plywood. Jeremy McKinnon and Neil Westfall had swapped riffs since their Ocala high school days, and with Tom Denny, Joshua Woodard, and Bobby Scruggs, the full band found their rhythm. The Florida heat sticks to their strings. One minute the guitar spit a hardcore chug, and the next a bright pop-punk hook lights the room. Friends lean in, smile, and tell them to pick a lane. The band shrugs, cranks the amp, and keeps writing because a mashup feels more honest than any single genre. They scrape together cash from part-time jobs to self-release their first EPs, Halos for Heroes, Dirt for the Dead 2004, and a 6-song demo in January 2005. With no label yet, these early releases often took the form of Sharpie logo discs, handmade merchandise they could sell or hand out after shows. After performances, they'd slide these CDs into lockers, glove boxes, and t-shirt piles at VFW halls and community centers, which often doubled as all-age venues. After a sweaty VFW hall show in late 2004, they hurried back to Neil's bedroom computer, ripped 2 rough mixes into MP3s, and uploaded them to PureVolume, the unsigned band hub of 2005. By sunrise, their play count jumped from dozens to thousands, and the comment feed filled with kids begging for tour dates outside Florida. This significant spike in online buzz caught the attention of Indianola Records, who signed them in February 2005. Just 2 months later, they piled into Andrew's bedroom studio in Ocala, Florida, a space credited as the Wade Studio, and tracked what became their debut full-length, and their name was Treason, released that May, which would eventually sell more than 10,000 copies. A few weeks later, Victory called, promising street team posters in every mall food court and a Warped Tour slot. Jeremy highlighted royalty clauses, Tom scribbled advance numbers, and Neil balanced the laptop on a drive-through table, teaching themselves contract math between fries and flat sodas. Life soon turns into night drives, cold pizza, and strangers screaming new choruses back at them. Some crowds think they're too heavy, others say they're too pop, yet every set ends with more fists in the air. In between starts to feel like a secret weapon. They swap a rusted van for a dented shuttle bus, sell out the Ocala Recreation Center, and duct tape set list to cracked cymbal stands, while local papers label them genre confused. The kids in line just call them fun. By late 2006, their short but official run on Indianola had run its course, and ADTR had just signed a full contract with Victory Records. The label wanted a finished album yesterday. Sure, their mashup sound could explode once kids outside Florida heard it. The move to Victory wouldn't be the only shakeup the band would see. Alex Shelnut would take over on drums. With advanced money in hand, barely enough for gas, the band packed their dented shuttle bus, pointed the GPS towards Zing Studios, and hit the highway to start recording their next album. Now with the backing of a much larger label, they weren't entirely sure if their unique mix of hardcore chugs and pop-punk hooks would click with a wider audience and meet the expectations of Victory, but they followed what felt right. Years later, Neil Westfall would reflect on those early years in a 2014 Ultimate Guitar interview by saying, "If you're making music for the right reasons, there's nothing to be afraid of." But how would that fearless drive translate when the scene itself started to take notice? In January 2007, Chicago snow filled the curb while boxes of For Those Who Have Heart rolled out of Victory's warehouse. Recorded 3 months earlier at Zing Studio, the record hit harder than the debut, yet sounded sharper. Breakdowns slammed, choruses gleamed, and the mix begged for sing-along chaos. Average crowd size on tour jumped from about 200 kids a night to nearly 600 by summer. That summer's Warped Tour became the real test of their mashup sound. Could pop-punk kids and hardcore kids survive the same pit? Noon heat curls off the asphalt as ADTR hits the stage. Pop-punk kids hop until the double kick lands, then pull back when the circle pit opens. Hardcore regulars fold their arms, then sing once the chorus kicks in. The clash looks strange, but it feels right. Early 2008 brings bigger club rooms. The band learns to stretch the set list, slow the breakdown, and point the mic at the crowd on every hook. Jeremy's growl flips to melody in a single line, and the room follows. Victory staff brag about their surprise crossover hit. Homesick, their third studio album, arrives on February 2, 2009. Track 1, The Downfall of Us All, starts with a tongue-in-cheek chant and a riff that sticks to the inside of your skull. The album reaches number 21 on Billboard and stays there for weeks. Reviewers invent terms like easycore because no shelf genre fits. Fans just call it the record they needed. More streams mean more accounting, and by autumn, the royalty statements look odd. Ticket scans and payout sheets no longer match. Small questions turned into heated phone calls, then tense meetings with accountants. The numbers and the noise no longer matched, and that mismatch was about to drag A Day to Remember from the tour bus straight into a courtroom. In winter 2010, backstage in Birmingham, cold air sneaks through the loading dock while the band huddles around a scuffed laptop, scrolling spreadsheet rows that will not balance. Ticket scans looked solid, sold out mid-caps, steady merch money. Yet the band's bank balance kept shrinking. Neil pulled all the spreadsheets on his scuffed laptop, highlighted missing deposits, and fired screenshots to their tour manager at 2 a.m. Within days, urgent emails bounced between venues, and polite questions turned into tense phone calls with Victory's accounting desk. Just 5 months earlier, in November 2010, they dropped their fourth studio record, What Separates Me From You, a release that debuted in the top 15 on Billboard, yet still left their bank balance shrinking, which is what sent Jeremy to those spreadsheets in the first place. When no answer came, their lawyer drafted a demand letter printed on paper thick enough to feel like a subpoena and hand-delivered it 4 shows later. On April 11, 2011, A Day to Remember filed suit in Florida federal court. They demanded a full royalty audit, back pay for digital and merch sales, and the right to exit their recording contract after 5 albums instead of the 7. Victory fired back the same week, arguing the band still owed at least one more studio record and had no grounds to walk away. Release plans freeze, press cycles stall, and message boards light up with rumors. However, the band keeps touring to pay crew wages, writing rough demos on battered laptops balanced across backseat bunks. By spring 2012, the court calendar kept sliding, and studio bills felt impossible, so the band rented a cheap 3-bed in suburban Orlando. They pushed furniture against the walls, taped X's on the living room floor for drum placement, and recorded vocals under quilts to dull the echo. Coffee, chords, chord updates, repeat. Every night followed the same loop, as friends dropped by with sandwiches in one hand and legal docs in the other. A whiteboard over the fireplace showed song titles on one side and legal deadlines on the other, a silent countdown nobody dared erase. Money was tight, but every late-night take in that makeshift studio gave them something the lawsuit couldn't touch. Talking to Chorus FM in 2013, Jeremy McKinnon summed it up. "We realized that if we were going to pour our lives into this, we needed the record to sound exactly the way we wanted. Self-recorded, self-funded, and born under the shadow of a lawsuit, ADTR announced they'd release Common Courtesy independently. Victory hit back fast, filing an injunction to block the drop, but the court disagreed. In October 2013, a judge ruled the band could release Common Courtesy without label interference. Fans crashed the site trying to buy it. No label push, no radio support. Just a loyal fan base, slamming download like it was a middle finger to the industry. The lawsuit wasn't over, but the moment was seismic. It showed that a band could go to war with its label, win a battle, and still keep the music alive. On the first night of their 2014 European comeback tour, the band stepped into a club stage in Cologne to 5,000 voices, finishing the last line of Right Back at It Again. No promo budget, no label banners, just fans who knew every word of the self-released tracks. The echo bounced off concrete walls and back across the Rhine. Each night felt like proof of life for common courtesy. Merch lines wrapped the bus twice, funding court bills one t-shirt at a time. That summer brought the Parks and Devastation tour. VIP upgrades vanished in minutes, turning a legal headache into a rolling victory lap. Between shows, the group's lawyer sent fresh PDFs. Discovery files grew taller, and settlement talks stalled. Yet ticket sales kept multiplying. Street teams printed #ADTR freedom flyers that drifted under every arena door. The longer the judge delayed, the louder the crowd sang. Bad Vibrations, their 6th studio album, dropped on September 2, 2016, while their lawsuit with Victory Records still loomed. Lead single Paranoia roared across rock radio, and the album opened at number 2 on the Billboard 200. Heavier, angrier, and cathartic, it proved Rage plus Freedom could still move units. This album was distributed through Epitaph Records, marking their first major distribution deal as owners of their own masters. After almost 5 more years of motions and postponed court dates, on November 23, 2016, a final settlement was signed. Victory Records paid an undisclosed sum and dropped all future claims, finally freeing A Day to Remember from their contract. Music sites lit up with headlines that read like encore banners. A Day to Remember wins lawsuit. Hours later, the band tweeted a single sentence. Told you we'd end this on our terms. And the hashtag trended worldwide. By that winter, the long-fated lawsuit felt like ancient history, drowned out by guitar feedback and confetti blasts. Yet a new question loomed. Could the band turn legal independence into a legacy that outlived any headline? Spring 2017 found many warped-era bands canceling tours or jumping into day jobs. A Day to Remember went the other way, launching a 15-years-in-the-making headline tour to celebrate their catalog and thank the fans who'd carried them through the years. Crowds mixed generations, teenagers in pastel hoodies, parents in faded band tees, and even toddlers on shoulders. In a January 2017 Ticketmaster UK chat, Neil Westfall explained why it worked. We play punk, pop, hardcore, metalcore, everything in between, so there's something for every kid in the room. Pre-sale links crashed within minutes, extra arenas were booked, and the merch companies scrambled to add toddler sizes after parents begged to bring their kids. The set list read like a genre dictionary, sliding from the metal lurch of Second Sucks straight into the bright swing of All I Want. Teenagers in pastel hoodies moshed beside dads in faded band tees. Proof that this hybrid sound could age the way punk shirts fade. Soft but unbroken. Between headline shows, A Day to Remember ran their own self-help fest in California and Philadelphia. They filled the bill with rising acts, Neck Deep, Beartooth, and State Champs, who all fused pop-punk hooks to metalcore breakdowns, the exact mix ADTR had pioneered years earlier. From the stage, those bands thanked Homesick for the blueprint, while journalists finally had a tidy term, easycore, and put ADTR on page 1 of its history. 2018 and 2019 arrived without a new studio album, yet Spotify streams sailed past 1 billion. The silence felt chosen, not stalled. After the Bad Vibrations chapter, they teamed up with Fueled by Ramen in 2019. No album locked, no deadlines looming. Just the hope that this would be a home for the long haul. Jeremy McKinnon told podcast hosts, "We tour so the songs stay alive, not to serve a release cycle." Crowds welcomed that plan, singing deeper cuts like You Had Me at Hello as loudly as fresh singles. Headlines shifted from comeback chatter to longevity praise, locking the band's name under the word staple instead of trend. Yet an even bigger test was only months away. One that would slam every venue door shut and force A Day to Remember to reinvent their playbook all over again. March 2020 shut every venue door, and the band scattered to spare bedrooms and rented storage units. They swapped raw song files by email, naming each one ref_idea_final_v9, until the joke wasn't funny anymore. 12 months later, Those folders held enough tracks to finish a new record. That collection became their 7th studio, You're Welcome, released on March 5, 2021. Reviews split down the middle. Some listeners loved the polish, others kept asking for palm-mute grit. Brick Wall delivered a familiar breakdown, while Bloodsucker flirted with dance beats. And that mix-and-match spirit pushed the story forward, not sideways. When crowds finally came back in 2022, ADTR tested the new songs on a short club run. Mind Reader flowed into Downfall of Us All without any blinking. The response told them the mix worked, so they booked a full arena swing called The Least You Can Do Tour for early 2023. House lights rose on fresh singles, dipped for homesick classics, then cut out completely so, if it means a lot to you, could turn the arena into a flashlight choir. The blend proved that old and new could live in the same pit. Stage screens flashed fan art between songs, a nod to fans who spent lockdown sketching the band logo on tablet screens. By 2024, ADTR was back in bold print on festival posters, sharing slots with acts who once cited them as gateway artists. Playlists tagged alt-rock, metalcore, and pop-punk revival now use their hybrid formula as the baseline. On stage in Leeds, Jeremy laughed. "We used to fight for a slot. Now we can't decide which slot fits." And the crowd roared because the puzzle felt earned. From storage shed rehearsals to courtroom showdowns, A Day to Remember never fits a tidy shelf label. The mix of sing-along sweetness and brick wall breakdowns first confused listeners, then united them. When Victory Records closed the release pipeline, the band built its own. When critics asked for one genre, they handed back two. The lawsuit should have clipped their wings. Instead, it taught thousands of young bands how to go directly to fans. The genre debate should have pushed them to pick sides. Instead, it widened their tent. Today, their logo appears on the back windows of pickup trucks and the laptop stickers of college freshmen. The sound that shouldn't work became a template. A Day to Remember was never supposed to last this long, but the scene they helped shape now speaks in their accent. The verdict is simple. They didn't just survive their era, they defined it. And the chorus of kids screaming those hooks every tour proves the story is far from over. Thanks for riding along on this deep dive into A Day to Remember's wild timeline. If you enjoyed the story, hit like, smash subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss the next episode of Pop Punk and Emo True Stories. Got a band you want unpacked next? Drop it in the comments. We read every one.